I've been asked to speak on behalf of the Yothu Yindi Band and the Yothu Yindi Foundation. And as Leon said earlier, just a few weeks ago, we had no idea we'd be back in this same place saying similar words. When Bakamana Mandawoy started the Yothu Yindi Band family in 1985, 86, was when we first met this man. He was spending a lot of time in his homeland at the time with his father, the last remaining son of Wongu, and we're dealing with the grandson of Wongu. Mandawoy was training under his father in Yolngu knowledge, and it was in an environment with a strong emphasis on Yolngu knowledge, his son was in the community, was an exceptional and outstanding Yidaki player who had at an early age developed his own style, which was being copied by young players in this region. And I think it's fair to say that he was acknowledged at that point as being, if not the best, one of the best players in the region. And that undoubtedly makes him the best player in the world. That skill was brought to the beginnings and the origins of the band. In January 1988, the band was in Sydney for the bicentennial celebrations, or the morning of the 200-year anniversary of the occupation of Australia. And amongst other things, the early band members, Mandawoy, Wetiana, Cal, who he adopted as his brother. Cal's here today, and Stewie, all marched in the protest marches, and over a week recorded the first album, Homeland Movement. And that album was before CDs were invented. It was an LP. And on one side it had contemporary music, and on the other side it had the first ever 22 minutes of digitally recorded manake in the world. And still to this date is some of the best quality recorded manake ever recorded. Later that year in 1988, we all ended up on an adventure touring for 6 weeks around the United States and Canada with Midnight Oil. And I suppose that's when this band really started the business of taking the sound of the Yidaki to the world. Up to that point, within the music industry and generally in Australia and globally, it was not recognised as a proper instrument. It was like a tourist thing. And undoubtedly, it's the hardest instrument in the world to play in terms of playing it properly. And what he was doing was taking it outside of that normal boundary of just people blowing air through a hollow log and making noise. He was playing real songs, and he had a very deep knowledge in that area and was widely respected for that. He was a man of surprises. I remember on that tour, we'd been on the road for 4 weeks or so, and we pulled into a hotel in Seattle, and he looked out the bus window and he said, "Oh, I stayed in this hotel before." And it was only at that point that I realised he'd already toured the world 1 or 2 times prior with Bill King's Safaris. So a man that had been around. In the early 90s, 91, the band recorded the song Treaty, and that was a top 10 hit worldwide. And the Yidaki sound in that entered into lounge rooms and clubs and dance halls all over the world, and really blew the lid off it. And from that point on, I think it's fair to say that the current movement and interest globally in the instrument really began. And I think his playing style and the integrity of his work as a musician was such that he can take full responsibility for that explosion and interest in the instrument and respect that the instrument now has. And as I think's already been mentioned, there people have been emulating and learning from his style from many countries around the world. He was a founding member of the Youthi Yindi Foundation in 1990, something that his father supported and his sister supported, and obviously his mother supports, and for some time co-managed the Yiraki Masterclass with Jalu, with people visiting each year at the annual Garma Festival and studying under him. And of course he conducted many other activities, as Randon mentioned earlier, in that respect. So just on behalf of the band and the foundation, this is a sad occasion, and I just hope, I believe the biggest, most important thing I can say is that he's probably his longest lasting and his major achievement, as I say, was taking that instrument and putting it in its right place on a global basis in the music industry. So thank you.